Iowa is going to the college football playoff. Okay, I'm going to wait until you're done laughing before I continue the video. Okay, I'm not going to wait until you get done laughing because then the video is going to be way, way too long. Okay, please pull it together. Listen. Okay, maybe Iowa's not going to the college football playoff, but there is a path. There is a reasonable path for the 6-1 Iowa Hawkeyes, who, come up with your best analogy, can't score worth that they could get to the college football playoff. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day with you best discussion, debate, and analysis. Iowa's coming off a 15-6 win against Wisconsin, in which the offense generated 37 yards passing, had an 82-yard touchdown run. Basically, let's look at it this way. The offense generated one play that mattered, one meaningful offensive play. Now, sure, they converted a few first downs that kept the ball away from the Wisconsin offense, but the way the Iowa defense was playing, the Wisconsin offense wasn't going to score anyway. Exceptional punting, field goal kicking, defense, one offensive play, and Iowa wins 15-6 in the pivotal game in the Western Division this season. A woeful, awful, atrocious Big Ten Western Division. For the record, this has nothing to do with the playoff, except you typically need to score points to get to the college football playoff. Iowa officially is the worst offense in college football statistically. Based on yards per game, total offense, Iowa has sunk to the very bottom. Can you imagine a college football playoff team that finishes dead last in the nation in offense? Actually, this team could pull it off because they can win the rest of their games without generating any more offense than they already are at about 243 yards per game. 37 yards passing per game. Yes, Torrey Taylor, the punter, Drew Stevens, the place kicker. These guys are exceptional. The special teams, the defense, exceptional. With all the laughter and the catcalls about the offense, let's not forget that. That should not be overlooked in any way, the defense and the special teams. All right, let's get to the nuts and bolts of the situation involving Iowa getting to a college football playoff. 15-6 win places Iowa at 6-1 overall, 3-1 in the Big Ten, a 31-0 loss to Penn State. Iowa has this schedule remaining in 2023. Minnesota, 3-3, 1-2. Not nearly the Gophers team that we've seen over the past 3 or 4 years under PJ Fleck. Iowa's actually only a 3.5-point favorite at home. That tells us quite a bit right there. Northwestern, they've won a game this season in the Big Ten. They did that against Minnesota. The Wildcats are 3-3. Rutgers is off to a nice start at 5-2, 2-2 in the Big Ten. And they are playing some good football. They came back from 24-6 down last week to defeat Michigan State, a team that, of course, Iowa struggled with in falling behind 16-13 in the fourth quarter. Illinois came to life with a win against Maryland this past weekend. The Illini had looked awful in its previous 6 games, but again, 27-24 over Maryland. So the Illini, who defeated Iowa last year 9-6, are currently 3-4, 1-2 in the Big Ten. And finally, Nebraska. That game at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, the Huskers stand at 3-3, 1-2 after a last game win against Illinois, 20-7. So these 5 teams are 17-15 overall, 6-10 in the Big Ten. That's a bit misleading, 6-10 in the Big Ten, because the 4 of the wins are against each other. Rutgers defeated Indiana, and Illinois got that win against Maryland. So those 5 teams are 2-6 against everyone else in the Big Ten. So we see where it's very plausible that Iowa could finish 11-1, 8-1 in the Big Ten, and head to Indianapolis as the Big Ten Western Division champions to face whom? Well, we know what the deal is. Ohio State and Penn State get together Saturday for the first of 3 titanic clashes between those 3 teams, all ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the nation right now, all expected to go 11-1, 10-2, or 12-0, depending. Consider this. The odds of Ohio State, Michigan, or Penn State losing to anyone else in the Big Ten are rather long. It's going to happen someday, but Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan have defeated 34 consecutive opponents in the Big Ten. That's amazing. They have won 34 consecutive games against everybody else in the Big Ten. The last time a Big Ten team defeated one of those three, outside of those three, of course, Michigan State, the final weekend of 2021 against Penn State. So it's been an awfully long time since anybody in the Western Division defeated one of those three teams. You got to go back to early in 2021. So those teams will get a ton of respect, of course, by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. They are three titanic powers. They're playing dominant football for the most part, and they should have great matchups against each other. And again, all three will finish 10-2, 11-1, or 12-0, something of that ilk. Of course, Iowa's got to win out to have a chance to be selected in the playoff. Let's look at the best case scenario for Iowa. My first thought is, well, they lost 31-0 to Penn State. They have to avenge that loss. Iowa's not going to have a top 10 or 15 ranked win on their shoot. Iowa is not going to have a ranked win on its schedule until the Big Ten championship game. Their best win during the regular season is probably going to be that Wisconsin win. That's how bad it is. That's how bad the schedule is. Wisconsin will probably go, 8-4, 9-3 with a backup quarterback now, I guess, and that's going to be Iowa's best win in the regular season. But it's that Big Ten championship game, of course, that's going to be the notch on Iowa's belt to get them to 12-1 as the conference champion. Best case scenario on the surface, my first thought is, of course, they need a rematch against Penn State. If they get the rematch against Penn State, they avenge 31-0. Get the win against Penn State, mark them off, and then you've got Ohio State and Michigan sitting there at 11-1/10-2 as two teams that Iowa would have to compete against, that they would be compared to by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. However, is there another way? Here, my friends, is the scenario that gets Iowa to the college football playoff. This Saturday, Ohio State defeats Penn State in Columbus, but a week later at Camp Randall Stadium, the Badgers upset the Buckeyes, and Ohio State goes down in that game to lose its first game of the season. But in the other two big matchups of the season, Ohio State completes the sweep of Penn State and Michigan, defeats Michigan in the game, the final weekend of the season. But Michigan also defeats Penn State. That knocks out Penn State at 10-2. So Penn State loses both of the big games in the East. Michigan defeats Penn State, but Ohio State defeats Michigan. Therefore, the Buckeyes win the Big Ten Eastern Division. However, with a loss at Camp Randall Stadium, the Buckeyes are 11-1. Michigan's 11-1. Penn State out at 10-2. Ohio State, Michigan tie. The Buckeyes have the head-to-head. They go to Indianapolis to face the Iowa Hawkeyes. Of course, the Hawkeyes have to win the game, whether they win it 7-6 or laugh 45-42 or laugh 45-0. They win the game. So your Big Ten champion is Iowa at 12-1. Your runner-up is Ohio State 11-2 and lost head-to-head to Iowa. Michigan is 11-1 as a non-conference champion. And Michigan's schedule, despite the really nice win against Penn State, is no better than Iowa's. Michigan played no one non-conference. They played the weak teams in the Western Division. And then, of course, Penn State's out at 10-2. There is your best case scenario for the Iowa Hawkeyes. They need Ohio State to win out in division, get to the Big Ten championship game, but with a loss to Wisconsin, and then Iowa wins the Big Ten championship game, and Penn State sitting at home but at 10-2, so the head-to-head is knocked out by the second loss. It's all in good fun. Can we really see Iowa going to the college football playoff with this offense? Well, the defense is just as great as the offense is deplorable. They will have no signature wins, but they have to get that in Indianapolis. Maybe you've got other scenarios that get Iowa there. We did not take into account, of course, what's going on in the rest of the country, and that will factor in heavily, of course. But there are so many variables out there. We are just dealing with the Big Ten. We love the conversation with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis right here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you next time.